If you're a parent and you're watching your child struggle with anxiety, you know how completely helpless it can feel. But what if I told you there was a really practical tool you could use together to start facing those fears head on? Well, that's exactly what we're going to walk through today. A simple but incredibly powerful technique called a fear ladder. So let me start with a question, and I want you to think if this sounds familiar. When your child gets that anxious feeling, is their first instinct to just run, to get away from whatever's scaring them? If you're nodding your head right now, trust me, you are not alone. This can look like so many different things. It might be the flat-out refusal to go to school in the morning, or clinging to your leg at drop-off. Maybe it's finding any excuse in the book to skip a sleepover. And sometimes, it's a full-blown meltdown over something that, to us, seems pretty small. These are all classic signs of avoidance, and it's one of the trickiest parts of anxiety to navigate. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about why just avoiding fears actually makes them stronger. We'll call that the avoidance trap. Then we'll get right to our main tool, the fear ladder. I'm going to show you exactly how to build one, step by step, and most importantly, how to start climbing it to build your child's confidence for good. As parents, our gut instinct is to protect our kids, right? To shield them from anything that causes them distress. But here's the great paradox of anxiety. When we let them avoid what they fear, we're accidentally sending a message. And that message is, you're right, that thing is too scary for you to handle. So over time, the fear doesn't get smaller, it actually gets bigger. So how do we break this cycle? How do we get out of that trap? Well, this is where the fear ladder comes in. And listen, this isn't just some clever parenting hack. This is a powerful, research-supported tool straight from cognitive behavioral therapy. And it's designed to help kids face their fears in a way that feels totally manageable and supportive. All right, so we have our tool, the fear ladder, but what is it really? Let's dive into the concept and the actual science that makes this thing work so well. To put it simply, a fear ladder is just a step-by-step plan. The key words here are gradual and step-by-step. You're not throwing them in the deep end. You work together to break down one big fear into a bunch of smaller, more approachable challenges. You start with something that feels just a little uncomfortable, and you slowly work your way up. Now, the why behind this is pretty fascinating. It's based on a scientific principle called habituation. Think of it like this. Every time your child faces a fear in a small, controlled way, their brain gets to collect new evidence. That initial alarm bell that screams, danger, starts to get replaced with a new, calmer message. A message that says, this isn't as dangerous as I thought. I can handle this. And with every repetition, that anxiety response gets just a little bit weaker. So before we can even start building our ladder, we need to know how high to make each step, right? And that brings us to our first crucial step, rating the fear. We have to find a way to take this big, invisible, overwhelming feeling and turn it into something we can actually see and work with. And the good news is there are really simple tools for this. For younger kids, something visual like a feelings thermometer is perfect, with smiley faces and sad faces. For older kids and teens, you can use something called a SUDS scale. SUDS stands for Subjective Units of Discomfort. The SUDS scale is basically just a personal discomfort meter, from 0 to 100. 0 is totally calm, totally relaxed. 100 is full-on panic mode. But the most important word here is subjective. This isn't about how you think they should feel. It's about how they actually feel. It gives you a shared language. A 50 can mean, okay, I'm definitely upset, but I think I can handle it. An 80, on the other hand, means I really want to escape right now. All right, once you have a way to actually measure the fear, you can move on to the really fun part, building the ladder itself. This is where you get to turn all those abstract worries into a concrete, totally climbable plan. The process is actually wonderfully straightforward, and it's something you do with your child, which is key. First, just pick one specific fear to focus on. Let's say it's being around dogs. Then the two of you brainstorm all the different dog-related situations you can think of. After that, you pull out your rating scale and give each one a number. And finally, you just arrange them in order from the lowest number to the highest. And boom, you've just built your first fear ladder. Let's make this real. Here's what it could look like for a child who's afraid of being alone. You see, going upstairs by themselves might only be a 3 out of 10. That's a perfect first step. But staying overnight at their aunt's house, that's an 8. That's a goal for way down the road. You can see right away how this turns a big, scary, overwhelming goal into a clear, step-by-step path. And the beauty of this whole thing is just how flexible it is. You can do this for any age. For a preschooler with separation anxiety, step 1 might be as simple as playing alone in the next room for 5 minutes. For a teen who's nervous about speaking in class, it could be practicing their presentation in front of you at home. The principle is exactly the same. Break it down and start small. So you've done the work, you've built the ladder. Now comes the most important and honestly the most exciting part, the climb. This is where you put that plan into action and help your child build real, lasting confidence. Now here is a huge tip for getting started. Don't begin on the absolute easiest step. A 1 or a 2 on the scale isn't going to feel like much of a win. Instead, aim for a step that feels like a bit of a challenge, but still totally doable. Usually something around a 5 or 6 is the sweet spot. This way, their very first attempt gives them that amazing, empowering feeling of, wow, I actually did it. As you start the climb, your role kind of shifts. You're no longer the protector, you're the coach. Your job is to praise their effort, not just whether they succeeded or not. And be really specific. Say, I am so proud of how brave you were when you tried. And keep them involved. Let them help plan the steps and even the rewards. And remember, rewards don't have to be expensive. 15 extra minutes of screen time or getting to choose the family meal can be huge motivators.
And this right here, this brings us to what might be the biggest mindset shift in this entire process. Your job is not to make all the discomfort go away. Your job is to be their rock-solid support system as they learn that they can handle the discomfort. That's where real, true resilience comes from.
And that is the ultimate goal here. This is not just about getting over a fear of dogs or sleeping with the light off. It's about building the lifelong skill of resilience, that incredible ability to feel uncomfortable, to feel scared, and to choose to act bravely anyway. So as we wrap up, I'll leave you with this one question to think about. Based on everything we've just talked about, what's one small, brave step you can help your child practice this week? Because remember, starting small is the absolute key to building something great.